Welcome back to Tao Twang. I'm Dave. So this is building on that lesson from a couple days ago. We're on that it's entitled 15-minute Southern jam recipe. Okay, and in that one we really took this kind of formulaic approach to starting with one note, adding another note, and going around the progression each time, and really building and scaffolding ourselves up to playing more of the scale and making some real good musical choices. Great comments and questions about this one, and I don't want to get too caught up in this right now, but because so many asked about this key study thing, let me just briefly touch base with that. Most of you are on the right track. It is in G. Anything can be analyzed usually in a couple or number of ways. The real solid analysis on this is it's G. It's the 5 chord down to the 4 to the 1. Okay, now D mixolydian is the other thing that came up in the comments. That's 100%. So you're right on there. And one of the real ways is that's evidenced, or one of the real clues about that, is that if you play a D major, because some folks are like, well, it just sounds like it's D. Like, why would this be G? Well, D major pentatonic works. I'm going to show you something in a minute that's really going to, blow the doors open on this 1-4-5 stuff, especially in this style. And it's pretty straightforward. It's not something that you got to, it's a basic tenet of it that you can just exploit immediately. But if you played, the way to kind of test that out, and there's different ways you could go about this, but if you played the D major scale, the do re mi for D major, you'd end up with a C sharp as being the 7th tone, and that would work probably okay in some places over the D, but as soon as you went to that C and that G, that C sharp would become very dissonant and hard to work with. When you flat that 7, D mixolydian. Mixolydian is the mode that's built off the 5th tone of the home major key. And that's it. So a lot of you really figured that out. I didn't mention that in the video the other day. So hopefully that, and I responded to all the comments that I could find on there regarding that. So hopefully everybody that was, had a question about that got an answer. But you're on the right track. You're investigating this stuff so that you can apply it to other things, not just this one backing track or this one video, this one lesson, right? That's great. So anything I can do to help support you with that, if you have questions, you can put them in the comments. Me or others on the channel can answer the comments or, help explore the question. Or you can email me or whatever you want to do. But I just love that so many folks are really doing the work on this and using these simple concepts and building stuff out of it that's not even in the lesson that I'm showing you. That's really cool. So let's do the same thing today with this. We're just going to add some more licks, basically, and talk a little bit about the chord tones, of things and kind of why this works out. And one thing I want to do right away, there was a couple of questions about, well, that D major pentatonic works so well, it seems like it would just be in D major, like the piece would be in D. Well, that's a good thought. I think I told a couple of people this in the comment section. On something like this where it's a 1-4-5, everything's major like that, that major pentatonic really will work in many instances over each one of these chords with respect to its own root, okay? That sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Here's what I mean. Okay, that's D major pentatonic. this position a lot the other day, and we will today as well. Here I just kind of drop down here, okay? And that's going to give us some nice motion when we go forward with this. So here's the thing. I got hung up a couple times because I wanted to put in some other, like, diatonic notes there or whatever, just because of my ear. That's just what I want to do. But I've stuck to just the major pentatonic notes for each one of those roots. So there's something you can do to kind of warm up on this. Now, I might have, at first I just did them almost in order, kind of up and back, right? And I'll show you some of that in just a minute. And then I, did a little bit of, kind of, crossing over in the middle of an octave and doing a bend up and stuff. Whatever. That's where you're headed with this, right? And this is a pretty simple program. I'm going to show you right now the nuts and bolts, what you really want to get down mechanically. Okay, so I'm going to kind of lean in here. Let's go with the D. Okay, so you're just going from root to root. It's an octave, but it's pentatonic. There's only 5 notes in there. Okay, so get used to that sound, and when you practice things, start off with an octave, usually a lower one, then try, to connect it to that higher octave, and then different parts on the neck. But here's the real first step for that. Now, when I go up to the next one, I just want to do the same sounds an octave higher, the same pitches. Okay. But what I do to get there and to get set up to do other cool stuff is when I get to here, instead of using this one like I did down here, I switch over to this middle finger. And I slide up with that. Okay. Now, that puts me, because of that difference between those strings, the intervals, and all the other strings, right? That puts you in position to now coming down, figure out your own thing. I think I do different things there sometimes, but practice moving down as well. A lot of times when you're practicing, you kind of start at square one, and sometimes you just you get that one part worked out, and you sort of, file it away as just being in that one direction. It's important to try to, also descend on these things. Okay, a little bit of a jam up there. Now, one more time slowly, and we're really going to use this a lot today. So that's something that you can, I don't mean to be going fast at first. In fact, even with the track being, at a higher tempo, you can still hold the notes however long you want. Okay. Now, that time I think I went, when I got it up to speed and I kind of let myself go, I noticed that when I'm going down, sometimes I am going back to that ring finger. Going up, I think I always switch over to that middle finger. So it just puts you in the perfect shape right there. Now, when I got down here, you might have noticed I dipped down below that D root, okay? Just, that's available to you, and you're already right there. You got that. Remember the other day we went. And it's the same idea. Okay. Now, go over to the practice loop for a while and just kind of, don't try to go faster than the hand will go at first, but just get used to that, settle into it. And then start adding some of that's okay, so some bends, some hammers, some pull-offs. And sometimes even when you're playing kind of a slower phrasing, you can put a couple of quick little pull-offs in there and it sounds really cool. Right, see how that all connects pretty smoothly? But that first thing, that's the key to it. Practice that thing, do it a little bit each day. Then, we had our kind of pedaling. Okay, you can add some of that. These are just reminders. This stuff was covered more extensively in that first video. The difference here, that the other day we stayed right here the whole time. That was our pocket. And now we've got really 3 times that real estate, but we're already familiar with kind of, landing on that. Right, that's the third of that C. I like to go back to that D note when it hits the G chord, because that's the 5th of G. So I got a root. Listen to just those 3 notes, just for a little bit of chord tone, theory here. Root for the D. Third of the C. 5th of the G. Fifth of the D. That's kind of a cool note, right? Put that in there one time. thing, and then get on that practice loop, that other video with the links in the description of this one, and work out on this stuff. And here it is, kind of sliding up to the third for each one of these chords. This works for major chords kind of across the board. So for D, you just got to hunt them down. Use this form to visualize this. That kind of triad. So that's for the D. Use your ear as well as your eyes. Slide into that third. And then up to the fifth. And then that's the sixth, that note. Okay, now this instantly gives you a more modal and sound, because you're focusing on a chord tone that's not the root as kind of your pivoting, point. So then you can just move that around for each chord. So for D, it's 2 doors down for C. Then you got to hunt down your G. Hear how you can hear the progression there, even though we're not playing any of the roots of those chords. So see, I went ahead and put a couple little bends and things in there, and I'll slow that down for you right here for just a second, but just play around with that. The thing you got to remember and to map out at first is sliding into the third, go right up to that fifth. Those are the two, you can do a lot just with those two. You can kind of tie that just in with your other stuff too. You don't always have to do them in all three in sequence, but to get familiar with it. Bend it. You can, train your ear yourself to well, how far do I need to bend it? Or, a lot of times, don't get too hung up on that. Because a little half bend, quarter bend, little anything, it's nuanced. The note's not on the guitar, but it is when you bend it, right? That's cool. The higher G version of G. On that one, I like that G. The D and the G one are almost interchangeable, right? Because when you do it on G, that fifth is the root of the D chord. See? You hear the progression, the whole piece of music going on in your head when you're just doing those little riffs in those positions, using those triad, those chord tones like that. That's really important to your ear training. And when you kick your track back on, you put all these ideas together slowly. when I was playing that. I think I might have put the C, the little, triad lick of the C over the G. It's still, there was a kind of a tint. I was like, oh, I'm on a different chord. But it was like still, because it was connected with that solid core of that D major pentatonic and stuff, it's all working. Okay. And you're going to feel really good. You're going to know when that stuff starts working for you, right? It's not about how fast you can do all of this. It's about that buried treasure. Like, and that's it. That's it. And when you feel that, you stay in there. You stay on that part of the wave and really dig in and ride that out. And that's your body is going to learn that on all channels. Have fun with this one. Let me know how it goes. See you next time.